This is Father Andrew Ritchie, and you're listening to Catholic Inspiration, a podcast from my website at studyprayserve.com. These homilies, presentations, and retreats form part of my ministry as a Catholic priest for the Diocese of Superior. And now I invite you to open your hearts to some Catholic inspiration. So this morning I was down in Cumberland and I got to go fishing with my dad. And we got a nice little mess of crappies, got some food, it was great. Beautiful out this morning, it was gorgeous. And when we brought the boat back and put it in the garage, Dad said, "Hey, do you want to see the garden?" I said, "Oh, do I ever." So I went out and looked at the truck farm that my dad has going in northern Wisconsin. And it looks fabulous. The weeds, they run from that garden. He's so diligent about that. And it's looking to be one of his best gardens ever. The mix of rain and sun and heat at the right time. It's lush, it's vibrant, it's beautiful. And then, having admired duly this work of art that he puts a lot of time and attention into, as I was coming back with him, I heard about the beets that he's picked and given to some friends. Learned about all the peas that they picked and shucked. Some are already frozen up. I ate fried peppers and new potatoes this morning for breakfast. And it was awesome. To begin to see all of the vegetables starting to come out of the garden. And there's nothing quite like the taste of those fresh vegetables. It's amazing. The interesting thing about that is then I was thinking about the garden, and I was thinking about this gospel parable that we're hearing about sowing seed and bearing fruit. And anybody who's a gardener, and this is if you garden for vegetables or you garden for flowers, you got to think about this. People stick stuff in the ground because they want it to be fruitful. You don't plant stuff to watch it wither. You don't plant stuff that it just comes up and doesn't bear any fruit or bear any flowers. Any gardener wants to see something thrive, flourish, be beautiful, be fruitful. Gardeners get this, and gardeners get this particular image that we have here, where Jesus gives the parable and then he gives his own Bible study. They get this because, simply put, Jesus makes it clear that our lives are supposed to be fruitful, that our lives on this rock are meant to be a blessing in the world, in great and small ways. It's very interesting. A close reading says not everybody's supposed to give the same, because not everybody has the same to give. Some will bear fruit 100-fold, some 30. The interesting thing is, are we fruitful with what we've been given? Then you get the different avenues by which that seed falls. Does it fall on the rocky ground? Does it fall on the hard-packed ground? Does it fall among the thorns? All of those things ain't going to work, right? Something's going to happen. You're going to get picked away. It's going to come up and then wither. It's going to get choked off. The seed needs good ground. It needs to be prepared. And then it needs to be cared for, attended to, so that it can bear fruit. It's an interesting thing because gardeners know that there's so much work that they can do, and then there's so much that they kind of got to rely on nature to do. My dad can weed all day long, but if the temperatures don't get to a certain level, peppers aren't going to grow. And you know what? You can have the best seed and the best produce and the plants that you stick in the ground, but if you don't get rain, you ain't going to have anything. The gardener knows you've got to put the work in, the time in, the attention in. But the gardener also knows that the Almighty has a hand in this to make sure that nature is kicking in its part with the proper amounts of sun and rain. And you know, the same is true for our spiritual life. Folks, we are not on this rock to just sit and take in oxygen. God calls us to bear fruit. And in order to do that, in order to be a blessing in this world, by what we say and what we do, we can ask ourselves the hard question, what kind of effort am I putting into my life? The gift that God has given, the cherished treasure of life. That when we take stock of the blessings we have, the minute that we take that God has gifted us with our life, with this moment, with these people, with this opportunity, are we living it or are we coasting? Are we like the seed on the rocky ground, the hard-packed ground, the thorns? Or are we in fact saying, no, roll up my sleeves, time to weed, time to hoe, time to water, time to prune. I find it so fascinating that you have these two elements, called to be fruitful, called to put the work in. God will do the rest. And so tonight, I invite us to take a look at this in a very practical way. Just to say, Lord, what am I doing with what I got? What am I doing with my life right now? You've given me the gift and you've given me the freedom to live it. Lord, how am I being a blessing in the world? How am I being fruitful? Now, you can use the fruits of the Spirit for this. How am I practicing love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, or self-control? Lord, how am I making it better, not worse? Lord, how am I building up, not tearing down? Lord, how am I healing, not hurting? Pick any number of ways, but the bottom line is it better? Is it a blessing? Because I have put time and effort in the gift of my life to be life-giving to whatever, Lord, you have set before me. The Lord calls us to be fruitful. Friends, tonight, that looks different for every one of us. Every one of us. Because the garden of our hearts is different for each one. But the question is still the same. Lord, what am I doing with what I got? And how am I living what I got in a way that gives glory to you? For when we do that, we do bear fruit. God will take our effort. God will amplify it. That we will be a blessing in the world. God bless you all. This is Father Andrew Ritchie, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Catholic Inspiration. These homilies, podcasts, presentations, and retreats are part of my ministry. And folks, if you found it helpful, please feel free to share my podcast with someone you know and love in the hopes that it will help them in their journey of faith. And you can help me if you just go back to your podcast engine and write me a rating and a review. I keep all my listeners in my daily prayers, and I ask that you remember me and yours as well. God bless you, my friends.